I would love to talk about this topic right here. We're going to talk about the Steelers, and we all know that George Pickens scored a 41-yard touchdown to help the Steelers beat the Ravens 17-10. Now, the question that we have at the bottom ticker, are the Steelers heading in the right direction? And after we talk about the Steelers, we want to talk about the AFC North in total. So, Zach, if you want to kick us off once more, the mic is yours.
Yeah, well, I think the Steelers are just such a frustrating team to watch for me because, like, there are a lot of things on both ends of the spectrum that you could point to and say, you know what, like, this is where I want to go with. I'll start off by saying this, right? Like, this win, in a way, was pretty big if they wanted to just keep their season alive, right? And it's so funny because they're going into their bye week after this game against the Ravens at 3-2. They're in first place in the AFC North. And if you would have told any Steeler fan that before the season started, I feel like they would have signed up for it, especially considering, you know, they played 2 divisional games against the Browns and Ravens. They had the 49ers at home to start the season. They had a couple road games in there as well. But when you watch this team, it's very evident what the issues are, right? Like, the offense just cannot get going right now. Matt Canada, their offensive coordinator, has a lot to do with that. I think he's the worst play caller in the NFL right now. Like, I don't know how this guy still has a job, especially after last year. But it gets to a point where, like, he's so bad, and we all know it, you have to look at the guy who's running things and the guy that's the reason why he's still here, and that's Mike Tomlin. And it's hard to crush Mike Tomlin, right? Because the Steelers have won so many games like we saw them on Sunday where, quite frankly, they had no business winning that game. And really, that was my main conclusion from the game is, like, I think the Ravens kind of just gave them that game and blew, like, a massive opportunity. And the Browns did, you could say that in week 2 as well. But at the same time, that is just a classic, vintage Mike Tomlin Steelers victories. Like, these are the games that you point to and say, like, okay, this is why the Steelers will never have a losing season under Mike Tomlin. And long-term, it's probably not great, right? Like, I'm a big Kenny Pickett guy. Like, anyone who's listened to this show knows that, and I still believe in him as a quarterback. But I don't think we're going to see the best version of him in this Steelers offense the way this team is constructed. And that's a huge issue when you've invested as much as the Steelers have in him being a first-round pick. And, you know, we're going to get into some of the other teams that their offense has just been looking pitiful when we talk about the Caleb Williams sweepstakes coming up a little bit later on in the show. But I don't put the Steelers in that same category because this team still has a lot of really good players and, like, premium talent. You know, you watch TJ Watt, he's still one of the best players in the game. Highsmith is an elite pass rusher. You know, Minkah Fitzpatrick, they draft Joey Porter Jr., who had the big interception that really won them the game. You know, George Pickens, what a play he made on that final touchdown to win it. And, like, Pickett hasn't been great, but he still shows you flashes of why you should be a believer in him. Like, that throw to Pickens with the game on the line was epic. You know, this guy is now 2-0 in his career against the Ravens, probably the biggest rivalry in the NFL, with 2 comeback drives. He has that clutch gene. You know, you see flashes that make you think, like, okay, this guy is their franchise quarterback of the future. But the offense he's in, I just don't think is great for his development. And as long as Matt Canada is still around, it's really hard to put any belief into the Steelers team.
Yeah, I don't think the Steelers are heading in the right direction. Okay, I'm gonna just come out and say it. You know, when you talk about the Steelers, you know, their offense did absolutely nothing until the fourth quarter, where they were able to muster up 14 points. And that play that you're talking about that was epic, that epic throw, oh my gosh, Montana to Rice, you know, Pickens to Pickett or Pickett to Pickens. Yeah, it was a basic sideline route against cover 0, where it's man-to-man coverage up the sideline, very basic, and Pickens just beat his man, caught the touchdown, and won the game. Nothing special and epic about that. Okay, first of all, if you're the Ravens, why are you playing man-to-man in that situation? No, not happening. And on top of that, yeah, the Steelers have been winning them games. We know that. Clearly, it's evident that the Steelers defense has been winning them games and stealing them games, with the contrary of the teams that they beat or beat them themselves, which was the Browns in week 2, which was the Ravens on Sunday. So, translation, the Steelers are not really a good football team. And anybody that's watching with the eyes and not with the bracket knows that, because they're just not. And that's a product of Mike Tomlin. And basically, it just comes back. Everything is coming back home to roost. I said it before 2 years ago. I said on this mic, and I said that Mike Tomlin was not a top 10 coach in this league. And I got boos and eyes. Okay, I went on other shows, same thing, boos and eyes. Lil, get off the mic. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what people told me. And it's funny how going into this year, when we did our coaching rankings, right? And I'm just, I'm trying to remember every coach, right? I'm looking up coaches. I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot about this guy. And I come across Mike Tomlin by many articles being a top 3 coach in this league. You must be smoking ganja because he's not. Okay. Matt Canada has to go. And we've been knew that last year around this time. Last year around this exact time, we knew he had to go. Not only were the Steelers and fans of the game was expecting him to be let go around this time last year, but he survived the year. Then he got an extension on top of that. And then, okay, fine. This year, whatever. Give him another trial one or whatever. Cool. The preseason looked pretty good on paper in the preseason. All right, cool. We do this thing again. Clearly, it's the same mess. And when we thinking he's going to get fired, he gets a promotion. What in the world are we doing here? Okay. Part of me evaluating coaches is not being scared to pull the gun. Okay. And pull the trigger. And clearly, there's this loyalty thing going on. I mean, my guy rode with Big Ben to the nursing home. Okay. He rode with Big Ben to the nursing home. Okay. Literally. And, we know that Mike Tomlin is not going to be fired. And we know why. Because, Mike Tomlin gets fired tomorrow. He's going to have a job, tomorrow. Okay. 24 hours, maybe 2 hours after he's on the market, he's going to be scooped up. We know that he's a personality. Okay. I seen so many games. I kid you not, Zach. I seen so many games where they get run out the gym. Well, excuse me, the field. They get run out the field, and he goes at the press conference after the game, and he says this one line, "Can you dig it?" And everybody's just, oh, my God, that's Mike Tomlin. He says something fly. Yeah, I'm going to believe in him. That's all he does at halftime. Can you dig it? He doesn't make adjustments. Okay? He doesn't make adjustments at all. So if you want to hide or save him behind this meaningless 500 football, okay, then by all means, he never had a losing season. Okay. Wow. He should run for president. Does that matter if you're not winning a championship? So no, they are not heading in the right direction because they have a coach that's incompetent of making God for the choices, which is the same issue that Bill Belichick is going on. And even him, even he make a God for the choice. He ain't scared to do that. He just outdated. But Mike Tomlin is. And as long as Matt Canada is coaching Kenny Pickett, then this team is going to be mediocre. And if they get another winning season, okay, everybody going to throw the parade. That's why he's a top 5 coach. He never had a losing season. Okay. Wow. That's our standards? No wonder why this country is screwed. But anyway, I'm going to come back before I pass the mic over to you in closing with my first lap. Byron Leftwich reached out. Pretty sure you saw that headline. Actually, I know you did because we posted that in the chat. And, listen, I'm not a fan of him. But I think it's a good opportunity for him to get on the staff, because he could work his way up. Sort of like with Brian Flores, when Brian Flores couldn't find a job, they took him in and then he was able to get an interview for a head coaching job with Arizona. He took the defensive coordinator job in Minnesota. So I think it would be a good look for Brian Leverage to get on the staff. Maybe he work his way up from there. But he's not great either. And even though he coached on that Super Bowl team, he actually did a good job in that Super Bowl game. When Bruce Arians packed up and never oversaw what he was doing, I mean, he himself couldn't make adjustments like how Dave Canales is and how he added a spice to the Buccaneers now that he took his job. So, yeah, they should listen to anybody right now, okay, because they need help. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I think if there's one stat to point to just to answer this question, it's just the fact that this guy has not won a playoff game in 6 years, what might be going on 7 if it continues this year. Like, that's a really long time for a coach that a lot of people think is elite to not be able to win a playoff game. And it's not like they haven't had the personnel. And that's my thing, Will, is like, it would be very easy for me to sit here and say, you know what, the Steelers are cooked, their season is over. And I think you made a lot of valid points. Like, I don't love the direction this team is going in either, but it's hard because, like, I don't put them in the same category as the Patriots right now, or, the Giants or the Broncos. I look at those teams and say their season's over, but somehow, some way, despite just everything that has gone wrong, They're sitting at 3-2 in first place in their division. They're 2-0 against their division. And more importantly, like, they have the players. Like, I mentioned them. Watt, Pickens is making plays. Pickett, I know you could say it was a basic throw, but for a guy who was struggling, not playing well all game, a guy that hasn't really played great all season, to sit in the pocket and make that throw with the game on the line to win it for his team, like, that's impressive. That shows me something. And this team is after everything that's gone wrong, they are 3-2. Tomlin, all your critiques are fair. I wouldn't consider him some elite coach, but these are the games that just year after year after year, he finds a way to win. And you just know at the end of the day, they're going to be right in the thick of things, no matter if that's the best thing for their future or not.
Yeah, I just think when there's an expectation, right? There's certain franchises that we don't expect anything major from. And there's some franchises that we do. New England being one, and the Steelers being another. And when you win so many championships, or you are always a playoff contending team with great players on your roster, and you're not going back to that point, and the league is passing you by, you have to be concerned with the direction, because we know there's a cap on how far they can go. So even when they beat teams that they're not supposed to beat, which is rare, but they beat teams that they're supposed to beat, yeah, cool. And teams that give away the game, then that's fine. But we know there's a cap coming. Realistically, I know you picked them to win the Super Bowl. Zach, I don't know if you was doing some hardcore jokes that day, bro, but it was not a good pick. Do we realistically think that they're going to win playoff games? No, we're not. And we'll be lucky to see them in the playoffs, even though they right now number one. And we'll talk about the AFC North in a few minutes. But we know there's a cap. So I just think when you talk about the Mike Tomlin, special, normally when they were winning games and there was a different standard to where we are now with them, they would have occasionally a bad loss where they just get run out the field in a big game. Why did you lose that game to this guy,
like
Tim Tebow?
They got exposed that Sunday.
Literally. Tim Tebow, right, was one of the guys that sent them home. Blake Bortles was another guy that sent them home. And Baker Mayfield sent them home as well, right? 3 bad losses. But the difference is this year, I already seen 2 bad losses this year that were unexcusable. Week 1, yeah, I get it. The 49ers are a great team, talented, but they're coming across country. Just like Buffalo, they probably should have been sleepwalking early in the game. And you get run out your own field, right? Then you lose to the Texans with a rookie quarterback. You get smashed. And then on 4th and 1, this cat, Matt Canada, is running plays from the shotgun on 4 and 1 when Najee Harris had a decent game leading up to that. No, we have to be concerned about the play calling. Okay, now we want to be content with a streak, and everything is about the streak and not winning playoff games and not winning meaningful games. It's just about the streak. Then no, we shouldn't be concerned with the direction, because hey, I'm gonna be shocked if he meets the 500 mark again and never had a losing season. But if it's not about individual accolades, then yeah, we should be concerned about the direction of this franchise going forward.
Yeah, and Matt Canada is very lucky that 4th and 1 call didn't get his quarterback killed, because it was looking like Pickett, he was going to be out a little bit. I don't know how he even played on Sunday. That's another thing. Just showed a lot of toughness. But yeah, Matt Canada, this dude has done nothing to prove that he's a good college offensive coordinator, let alone a good NFL offense.
Man, I've seen some high school offenses that's way more high octane than this Steelers offense right now. With all due respect, man, like something got to give. And the thing that I'm worried about, right? Let's say if they do bring in Brian Leftwich to be a consultant or whatever he's trying to be, and they accept his offer. Then when they do, whenever that time is, decide to fire Matt Canada, they may be going to not so better. I mean, yeah, he's better than anybody's better than Canada. He's the worst play caller in the league, but you're not upping, right? Because I'm gonna be thinking and predicting that you will call Brian Leftwich to move up. There's a connection there. We talk about loyalty within the Steelers franchise. They always pride themselves on being loyal. Okay, yeah, I can see Brian Leftwich being the coordinator, but he's not a great coordinator either. So when you do decide, whenever that time is to move on from Canada, and let's say hypothetical scenario that I'm throwing out here, you bring him on the staff and he elevates to being a coordinator, then you're still going to be mediocre. And who is that going to affect? Kenny Pickett. So yeah, we should be concerned with the direction of this franchise.
Yeah, it's funny, the two games you brought up that the Steelers lost to San Francisco and Houston, like what do those two teams have in common, right? They're both basically running that same Shanahan West Coast system that McVay, LaFleur, like all of these guys are running. And D'Amico Ryans, you got to give him credit. Like when he got the Texan job, he brought this dude, Bobby Slowick. He was the passing game coordinator in San Francisco. He brought him with him to Houston. And this is a guy, like he used to work for PFF, very into the modern day analytics of the NFL and everything that's working with that offense. And watching that game in Houston, like I thought the Texans coaching staff just exposed Mike Tomlin and the Steelers and everything that has been going wrong with this team recently. Where is that hire by Mike Tomlin? Bringing in a guy like that just knows modern offensive football. And I think with Mike Tomlin, like it's interesting. He doesn't have as much power as Bill Belichick in the sense that he's, also the GM and he's like picking all of the players for the team, but he is the guy making all of the important decisions really in that building. And I feel like Mike Tomlin in some ways views himself as the coach that has a Super Bowl ring, that has never had a losing season, and thinks that he's the guy that could fix all of these issues. I really think that's why Matt Canada hasn't been fired and is still in that building, is because Mike Tomlin, he knows deep down that Matt Canada isn't good. Anyone who watches the Steelers offense knows that. But I think Mike Tomlin views himself as a guy that's still one of the best coaches in the league, a guy that has won a Super Bowl, a guy that back in 2008, when they won that ring, was really a big part of, helping that offense get better and winning that game. But he's not the cool, young, hip coach anymore. He's a guy that when you watch the Steelers team more often than not, you're just sitting there scratching your head. And I think he views himself as the guy that could be the solution. And Matt Canada and all these other irrelevant assistant coaches that he brought in, like they're all yes men. Like they're yes, sir, we'll do whatever you want me to do. And where is that big innovative hire like D'Amico Ryans made with Houston? Like where is that hire in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's nowhere to be found, and it explains why he doesn't have a coaching tree. Those things matter because when you're winning games and your offense looks good, then guys get hired, OCs get hired, DCs get hired, but these guys are not getting hired. So why? It falls back to Mike Tomlin. And once again, it's not 1999 anymore. And I figured we named that show primarily off of Mike Tomlin, to be honest with you.
Wow, not Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick is right up there too.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.